The reason I call a special meeting today is two items. Closing of the city buildings for large crowds, and Sacred Heart wants to partner with the health department to increase the number of COVID-19 vaccines that we give here in the county. Last week, talking to Sarah Caranta, the head of the health department, and Jim, we decided we'd go ahead and close all the city buildings. Quite a few of them have been reserved for different functions. I, of course, opened up a can of worms, to say the least, and I just thought maybe you guys should share in some of the fun with that. And so that's why we're here today, to discuss that. So I'll first of all like to read a letter from Sarah Caranta at the Health Department. It says, I just pulled the latest numbers. Basically, we haven't really seen a downward trend in our positivity just yet. Looking at a 2-week perspective from December 28th through January 10th, we've had 187 positive cases out of 905 total in Gulf County. We are at 21% positivity rate. That is too high. You need to get back under that 10% mark. To do that, we're taking an all-hands-on-deck approach. Following CDC guidelines, we are continuing to provide vaccines to most at risk. Everyone stay at home when you're sick, and if you think you've just got a sinus infection, go ahead and get a test to rule it out. So anyway, our numbers are high. They're too high, and they're going to get higher. I don't think you can turn on television at all, any newscast on television that won't tell you about what a problem is across the country. And we don't want it to happen here, overburden our healthcare facilities. So I know there's a couple here that had reservations at the Centennial Building, and we wanted to close them through March. This positivity rate got down below 10% for large gatherings. I think that's prudent. A lot of people have made sacrifices during this pandemic. We've closed our facilities before. We've had several weddings that made other arrangements. I just think we can, if you want to have a birthday party, you might not be able to have it on your birthday. Just put it off and celebrate a different time. Weddings, like I say, we've had quite a few canceled and quite a few just made other arrangements at outside venues. So I'm gonna open it up to our other commissioners, and I'd like to open it up to folks that are here that like to speak on it, because I've got reservations. So I'll open the floor for the commission.
Oh, I've got a couple ideas. First off, I had no idea that we were back at 21%. I'm not sure why the health department stopped posting that on a weekly basis. I thought that was beneficial. I have reservations about canceling events that are real close to happening. I kind of trying to weigh out the benefit versus taking away the event. On one hand, it's easy to say, let's close all our buildings down. And then when you start looking at it on a personal side, that's when you really have to gauge what are you getting out of it on a positive versus the effect that it has to the people that have it reserved. Well, if I knew that the schools were going to follow suit and close school and close sports and practice and all those things, then I lean towards, it makes sense for the city to be in line with all the other things that are happening. So it's a difficult decision based on if you have a group of people that you say, well, you can't have a birthday party in this building, but yet their kids go to the schools, they're doing after school activities. What impact have we really had? And that's why I would lean towards setting a date, picking a date in the future that we have to say, here's when we're gonna have to close everything back down. And I would also go ahead and support the idea, just to help things in the future, why don't we look at any time that the positivity rate for the county reaches a certain amount, we automatically go into that phase and look at shutting things down again. Because to me, that's really what you have to gauge things on, is the positivity rate. If it starts declining, then you see that you're having an impact. Obviously, the things that we're currently doing in our county must not be working if we're at 21% still. So that's just my thoughts. I'd like to hear from the others.
If I may, Mayor, you hit on almost every single point that I was going to bring up. I too was unaware that we were at 21%, but I did call Jim Norton. There's no intention on closing down elective activities after school. This 2 days off of school this week, he called it a circuit breaker. He wanted to break it up and hopefully there'd be more kids in school, but the kids aren't getting the education they need because teachers aren't teaching to half of a class. I would not be a proponent of canceling the kids' activities unless the school decides to cancel after-hours activities as well. And I think, like you said, let's keep what we've got on the books, but shut it down to further bookings until a certain date. It's fair across the board that way. If you're already in, you're grandfathered after that. We're not allowing any new use. But I would only support anything like that through this first phase of inoculations. Once the 65 and older population and the at-risk population has the opportunity to be vaccinated, I think the burden falls back on the people to go ahead and get vaccinated. That's how I feel. I mean, today I would support even refreshing our encouragement of wearing a mask. We can't enforce it, but we can encourage it again through resolution. But I have a hard time canceling the kids' activities when the kids' activities aren't being canceled anywhere else. That's where I'm at today.
I'd say all great points from both commissioners. I don't know what's on the books, but I mean, when you have gatherings, just like the football game last night, I know there were big gatherings last night. So, I mean, it's just extremely tough to break someone's plans, you know, when we're not real sure of where this thing's headed. So, I agree with both of you guys. Tough decision. Okay.
And Mayor, just one last thing, you know, I called Lynn Marshall, who runs the Methodist Learning Center, or the after-hours program for the kids, and they're just gonna find another place to do it anyway. So it's not like we're preventing these groups from happening. That was another factor.
Yeah, I think, one thing we're responsible for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And I think that's why we're wanting to be very cautious. Do we close everything? I mean, I'm hearing, let's let the events that are scheduled go ahead, but nothing else. Does that mean that's Washington Gym, Stackhouse, nothing else at the Centennial? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm fine with that, as long as we're still at a threshold of 21%. And I'll just throw a number out there. You know, I think if we're above 15%, we have to start making some tough decisions to try not get to 21%. So again, I would be fine with what we're talking about now. If we have parties and weddings planned we're gonna just have to bite the bullet and hopefully to encourage the people, like we had discussed, and sign a letter not holding the city responsible in any way. They would agree to, be adult and separate their people and wear masks when you can't social distance. And I know you can't expect the bride and groom to wear a mask, but, at some point, you can make some arrangements and make things different. But I'm fine with, in the future, if we reach, the percentage of more than 15%, surely 20, it's automatic that we then start making phone calls. And I think in the future, we could tell people up front with a document that they sign, if during the time between the deposit to hold the building and the time of the event, if we have a positivity rate, you're not coming. And then people understand it. But to rent a building for somebody and then just all of a sudden say, we gotta pull the plug, I would caution that.
We asked the Methodist Church, and we also asked CareerSource to present us with a plan of safely having these kids. So we've already asked them to make it safer, and I believe that they are wearing masks inside.
Well, I know that CareerSource has went out of their way to do a good job. I went out there on 2 occasions and saw for myself how they were doing things. It was effective.
You will notice, under your agreement for use of the Centennial Building, and really, this says Centennial Building, it should say any city-owned building. You have a separate one for every one? Okay.
And we haven't had anybody want to use any of our facilities in a while, so this would apply to new people, because most people that, we only have a few of the books, and they've been in a big facility months.
And under D, it said, I understand that masks are strongly encouraged, and anyone attending this event will follow the city guidelines in place for COVID-19. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Of course, CDC doesn't strongly encourage masks. They require masks as part of their program if you can't social distance. But we want to add an E down there that would say anytime the positivity rate is above 15%, then this contract null and void or something of that nature.
I think that would circumvent another one of these meetings.
Yeah, and what about, do we want to stick with that 15%, or would we rather talk to the experts at the health department and let them guide us?
I would feel better, because I just pretty much made up 15%.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think their guidance would be priceless.
Well, the question too, Mayor, what 15%? 15% on the day of the event, 15% on the week leading up to the event?
It would probably have to be, like our letter says.
Just have to be more specific.
X number of weeks.
The week leading up to the event.
2 weeks prior to the event.
That'll work. We just need to be more specific, otherwise you can manipulate statistics however you want.
Exactly, right, so, all right, so before we, I'll entertain any kind of motion, to try to get this resolved.
Anybody can just make a motion for everything we just talked about? I don't
Well,
remember what
but I
it was.
wanna give folks time to speak. Anybody that'd like to come up and speak, feel free. So, Michelle, Alice,
So is it,
Goodwin,
so my understanding, our wedding is
you come,
gonna still be on?
you need to come up front, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm going up here, so.
okay.
You would think working at a
Simone,
restaurant, I'd be
you
used to
and
it.
Donna also, you'll
I
have to.
talk right here?
Tell
Yes,
Mike your
please.
name.
Okay.
Yeah. State
Michelle
your name.
Hanlon.
Okay,
Okay, so am I in agreement that the wedding, we're still gonna allow the wedding to happen? Is that what I'm in agreement with?
that's what you're hearing, but
Okay.
there hasn't been a motion.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what,
the general consensus, it sounds like to me, would be that it's gonna go forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
that threshold we were talking about, I believe, understood as anything that's not on the books already. You can go
Okay,
ahead and
because
schedule
she
it.
did take mine off, but it was on the books for February 13th.
That's
Because
correct.
they called me, you know, and told me that, like I said, we've already done insurance, I've got invitations sent out. And I've got a lot of older people that said they're not gonna come if we have it outside, grandparents.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I've already paid the deposit, you know, my daughter's already picked out, I mean, everything's already been, all these decorations, everything for it,
I
so,
understand.
so,
Okay, all right.
so we're good. Well, we'll wait.
It sounds
Sounds
like
vote.
you might have a wedding in February.
Yes, good.
All right.
Do I need to do
Anything
anything
else?
else?
Any
I don't
questions?
think so.
Okay, all right.
You don't want us to give you any more time to think about it.
Yes.
Come on up, Ms. Nolan. State
Good
your name,
afternoon.
state your name for the record. We
Okay,
know you.
good afternoon, I'm Simona Williams, PSJ, City Commissioners and citizens. I'm a proud, I might say I am a proud, daughter of a former City Commissioner, Mr. Edwin G. Williams. And I'd just like to say to the board, this afternoon, that I appreciate, your consideration. And however, I am flattered. I've heard all of the comments about, a birthday party, and it seems to sound like that when we mention birthday party, we're talking about kids. But in this particular case, I'm the kid. My daughter has planned for an entire year to celebrate my 60th birthday. I will be 60 years old if the Lord allows on Thursday. And she has planned a 60th birthday celebration. Rex, I know that's hard for you to believe because I have been coming in that drugstore ever since I was knee-high to a
Yes,
dove.
ma'am, you have.
And, and so in this particular case, I am the kid. I'm so just proud of my daughter. She has done this, and insisted to do this all on her own with her own money. She works for Gulf County School System, so you know that's not a whole lot of money. But we're proud of what we do. And so she's had, the building, in fact, we were considering another venue, but with the pandemic going on, last January when she started, of course, this hadn't come up. And then a few months down the road, we decided, well, we better try to get a larger place so that we may be able to social distance if that if it's still going on. And here we are a year later and it's still going on. So that's why we acquired the Centennial Building about 6-7 months ago so that we would, have a good spread because we don't have an extra large, party. But we want to be able to spread out. But she has paid for decorations, she has paid for cakes and entertainment. And I understand I have some surprise visits by way of airlines and all this stuff, and ice sculptures that's being delivered from Atlanta, Georgia, and all this stuff. So you see why we were all upset, don't you? But there again, I'm flattered by being that kid. I'm glad to be that kid. And again, I appreciate your consideration.
No, you have a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. All right.
Simone, I'm getting up there where everybody kids now.
Sounds like a good event. I may want to come to that event.
I'm right around the corner. I might have to go. Oh, yeah. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to allow all the city, buildings that have been previously reserved to go forward with those reservations. And, I think let's make it that simple right now, and maybe, next Tuesday meeting, we'll work on finalizing after we talk to the health department about all all the other things
Yeah,
that
I
we
agree.
discussed, if that's okay with y'all. So I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hoffman. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion will pass 5-0. So I would like say one thing before we finish, and I get off my soapbox. Please, please, for your safety and the safety of others at your event, follow those guidelines, wear those masks. You can hug up still with a mask on you. So please, help us keep this rate down, because we've got a lot of, old folks in town like I am that we need to protect. So, please, you guys do that. So, that being said, I think, Commissioner Langston, go ahead, Jim.
Just one question, Mayor, future reservations, what do you want to do with people call today, tomorrow, want to reserve these facilities moving forward until you make another decision?
You will have to defer those till Tuesday till we get the final from the health department about our positivity rate and all that.
Just put a moratorium until we can meet again.
Exactly.
What about the request for the hospital or
We're
one of the
gonna
groups?
talk about that, I think,
Okay.
next on the
Okay.
agenda. And Commissioner Langston got to drive kids, so if he needs to go, you'll be excused, sir. We thank you for your service.
Anybody want to take my place?
Now go back.
Have fun.
Okay. And you guys don't have to sit around if you don't want to listen about Sacred Heart, but anyway, that is on the agenda. And, they had a request to, like I said earlier, to help the health department. And, I think, we need to do everything we can to get everybody vaccinated. So, is there any discussion about that?
What is the date of when they would take over the building or use the
They
building?
only wanted, the last I talked to Robin Godman at the hospital, they wanted just a couple of days a week. They'll set up screens and so on and so forth, so if you have a reservation or appointment at the health department, they can send you over there to, so they can give them, and they can give them, and pan care and everybody else, so.
It's a pretty big building, Mayor. Could they do the same thing in our fire station in that back room?
I don't know really why, unless there's some reason they have, but they have not gotten back to us after I talked to them, so I don't know if they've changed their mind or what, but, that's the idea, and, I just have to talk to them about that again, David,
Okay.
to see, they just called us, I talked to them, they weren't that specific.
Just a big building to give shots out.
I agree, I thought they could just, the front foyer area, I thought would actually be big enough, but you still got all of, privacy guidelines and all those other things, you got a 15-minute wait, you have to wait, and so that might be the reason, but,
Well, the reason I was asking about the date, I just want to make sure that, and I'm fine with them using the building. I want to make sure that we understand the people that are in the 2 weddings and the birthday party, that they're probably going to need a day, if not 2 days, to get ready for that.
I did talk to them about that, and they said they could certainly work around any of those events, anything they put up, they'd make sure it's down. I don't know why they picked Thursday, Fridays, but I don't know why they couldn't do Tuesday, Wednesday for that matter, but the specifics aren't there yet, so it's, just an idea of, if the commission feels like they could use the building, they would of course have to sign the same thing everybody else does, make sure to take care of it and so forth. But we would have to, I think we'd have to waive or consider waiving the deposit, which is always kind of a sticky point, but if it's for the health of the community, I don't think why we couldn't.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. I think it's a great idea. I imagine, one problem they're probably having is the wait time after they get the shot.
And they do not have room at the hospital itself,
Right.
so they're looking for a place in the community, and I don't know if, like Stack House with stuff going on there, but,
The the sooner we vaccinate, the lower that number goes, so.
Yeah.
Do what we can to help.
So do we, do you guys wanna make a motion to allow them to use the Centennial Building when they come to us with more specifics?
Absolutely.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Hoffman,
Second.
second by Commissioner, any discussion on that?
And waive the fee.
And
That's included, I thought.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0. Yes, sir, would you like to come
Man,
up?
I'm just simply saying, because you have those huge buildings like even the Washington High Gym, they can come in one day, one door and search completely around and come out the other door and keep a safe distance. And that's a huge place that you can, make sure
Yeah.
you're 6,
Yeah.
8 feet apart.
Yeah, appreciate that. I think right now, we're just sitting back waiting to hear specifics from the hospital and the health department. So right now, we're just allowing them to use what they asked for, and hopefully, they'll get something going to help. Anybody else? Anybody good in the order? Need to talk about?
That might, what Chester just said might be a good idea to get into the community that may not have transportation to get their vaccines, to actually hold it one day there and one day too, and just mention it to them. It might be
I do
helpful.
understand there may be something coming down the pipe that's gonna be a mobile unit that
Okay.
might go to churches and, your church would gather up, sign your people up, van and roll up, give you shots, and volunteers at church, make sure folks use that type of thing. So there's a lot of moving parts right now, and, but I think if people will just get it, encourage your neighbors, it doesn't hurt, I can tell you that, it does not hurt. Encourage all your neighbors to get that shot and get it as soon as you can. By the end of, I would say if we keep going like we're going, we might have majority of the county by the end of June. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, when I called, it took a day and a half to get through.
Yes, ma'am.
And then after that, they put me on, they told me, sign up and we'll get back to you, but I haven't heard anything in a week and a half.
So you have signed up,
Yes,
you're on the list, and what happened statewide, the health department's all on the same phone system. When that vaccine rolled out, it blew up the phone system for every health department around. You couldn't get through it, you might get lucky if an hour and a half, like you say. So hang in there, they're on the city's Facebook page and website. They've got this, COVID-19 sign-up thing as well as the, website to sign up. If you don't have a smartphone, if you do, you can just scan that right there and it'll take you right there and you can sign up. But the reason we're trying to open up these other areas is to get folks through faster. And, they're very efficient, but they can't give, with the people they have, they can't give more than 80 a day at the health department. That's just as many as they can give. They've got vaccines at the federal clinic in Weewalt. PanCare's got some. I would suggest you go to the quickest place. If PanCare will do it, go through them, because when you don't show up at the health department, they go right to the next person and call that person. So that slot, every slot's filled, it doesn't go wasted. So,
Mayor, do we have any information on when the CVS's may be receiving vaccines?
they've got it now, but they're charged only with giving shots at nursing homes.
Okay.
So that's all. EMTs, doctors, physician assistants, pharmacists, pharmacy interns, pharmacy technicians, all of that group by law can give this shot. It's just a matter of getting it and be able to store it properly and handle it properly. So I think probably that's maybe the big chain store will roll something out in a couple of months, but I'm not sure it's gonna be much better than that.
Okay.
So,
so I'll wait.
okay, you hang in there and be safe, and, they'll give you a call. Anything else, anybody?
Did we actually vote on the
Thank you
motion?
for coming, and we'll stand
Did we
adjourned.
vote on the
Thank
motion?
you.
Mayor,
Yeah, it was four, it was
Oh, I didn't hear that.
He didn't know if we voted on that last motion, and I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we
had a
did,
third.
4-0, it was 4-0, yeah. All right, guys, thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Jonna, that's gonna be a fun time, I only